My name's Sam Oakes and I'm the host of the Financial Planner Life podcast, but today I'm the host of the Titan Wealth podcast. I'm joined by three special guests. We've got Mike Fogden, CMO for the group, Katrina Bray for the Channel Islands, and James Baldry at the international side of Titan Wealth. But we're coming together to talk about marketing and branding across the group and how that makes one Titan.
So guys and girls, thank you so much for joining me today on the Titan Wealth podcast. I've been invited on as a host. For those that don't know me, I'm Sam Oakes from the Financial Planner Life podcast. We build career conversations around financial planning. So it's really interesting for me today to sit down with three different people here from Titan Wealth to talk about marketing, to talk about branding, and the amazing work that you are doing across jurisdictions, across the globe. So really, really looking forward to this conversation. So I'll tell you what, first off, for anybody that might not know you or just wants to know a little bit more about who you are and what you do, Mike, fire away, tell us who you are and what you do.
Problem. Hi, Sam. Yeah, so I'm Mike Fogden. I am Group Chief Marketing Officer, so I oversee all marketing strategy for the Titan Wealth business.
Fantastic. So you hold it all together.
Apparently so.
Oh, I like the sound of that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay, and yourself?
Hi, I'm Katrina Bray. I'm Head of Marketing and PR for Titan Wealth in the Channel Islands. So I head up the marketing team across Guernsey and Jersey, working closely with Mike and the central marketing team on all our activity within the islands.
I love it. And how did you end up finding your way to Titan Wealth?
So we were acquired by Titan Wealth in December 2024. We rebranded in May 2025. So I came from a business that was really well established in the Channel Islands. It had very deep local roots, 2 decades of existence in Guernsey, just slightly less than that in Jersey. So we were very embedded in the local community. So there was naturally a lot of concern around the change of ownership and what that would mean for our clients, because we are very accountable to them. They are our friends, they're our parents, the people we have dinner with, the people we see in the shops at the weekend. So it's been a really exciting journey over the last 18 months as we've got to know the Titan team, rebranded, lost the Ravenscroft name that we were very familiar with, and become part of a global growing brand.
Love it. And there's so much that we can pick apart from you and your experience as well, because what you're describing there to me is that hyper-local marketing, being part of a local community. How many people are actually in the Channel Islands?
So there's about 175,000 across the islands. The 2 main islands are Guernsey and Jersey, and then there's a number of smaller ones as part of those bailiwicks. It's a very different market to the UK. There are some other islands that don't even have cars. A lot of people are related to other people, whether that's related through blood or through marriage or through school relationships, through sporting relationships. So we are very accountable at all times. Our managing director refers to us as having 175 non-exec directors, because we have to be comfortable to explain the things that we're doing every day in the office and the decisions we're making on behalf of our clients. We have to be able to explain that to them, be comfortable to talk to them about that at the weekend, on the football pitch, wherever it might be that we interact with them. And
you're seeing them a lot then, are you?
We do. We see them an awful lot. Yeah. My mum's a client, my dad's a client, my children are clients. We are constantly accountable at all times, because we are very much part of that local community.
I love that. I love that a lot. So we're going to talk about the client experience, I think, definitely, because it's so important when you're offering services like financial services, where trust is everything. Bad news travels faster than good news.
Absolutely. The grapevine in the Channel Islands is particularly strong.
I love it. Do you know what? I'm so looking forward to going over to the Channel Islands. I've met a few of you guys now, and you seem like such a fantastic bunch. So
it's a great place to live and work.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to going over there and visiting and doing some content. So thanks so much for that, Katrina. James, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, Sam. So I'm James Baldry. I'm the Marketing Director at Titan Wealth International. That is leading the marketing team outside of the UK and the Channel Islands, really. So we've got a head office in Dubai. We've got a few other offices around the world. We mostly look after British expats, US expats too, Australian expats, a growing segment, quite a few other nationalities. Our core offering is cross-border financial advice and international wealth management, and building out a few domestic offerings as sort of a landing pad for expats in, say, Australia, where they tend to stay forever. So we've got some cross-border financial planning with Titan Wealth International, and then domestic offerings there we're starting to do something similar in the US also.
I love it. Do you know, I spent some time, obviously, myself in Dubai. I was working out there as a head of creative for another company out there in Dubai in the wealth management space. I had the luxury of coming over and recording some podcasts with Titan Wealth International and the team there.
Yeah.
I had such a fun time. You know, the actual office itself is so cognitively calming. I really enjoyed my time there. It was a real breath of fresh air to what I was used to, which was like hyper pressure, hyper sales environment. So for me, it was just such a wonderful experience to go over there and experience a different side of working for a wealth manager in Dubai. Because I was there for 12 months. I left because it wasn't for me. And you spent some time living in Dubai as well.
Yeah, I was out there 7-8 years. So I went out about 2014, came back 2021. I think if you look at all the founders in the sort of leadership team, I think everyone was there sort of the early 2010s, which I guess is a nod to the type of people that went out there and built that business. I think you're getting a slightly different cohort going out there since COVID in the 2020s. You've got Instagram and things that have made it, verified it as a place to go. I think most people that went out there a bit earlier, if I look back, you had to pay your rent in 1 or 2 checks. If one of those bounced, you could go to jail. Similar, like there was no bankruptcy laws back then. Yeah. So if you started a business and a check bounced, you could go to jail. I went out there, no job, wife's a teacher. I think everyone goes out for 2 years. I went out for 2 years, ended up staying 7, 8. My son was born there, then came back.
It's quite funny, some of the stories I've heard about Dubai back in the day where people would go out there, attempt to make a load of money. Maybe they got themselves into a little bit of debt, but they bought the Ferrari and they'd go to the airport, drop the Ferrari off with the keys in the car, get on the plane and get the hell out of there. I think financial services has changed massively in Dubai. You can't do that anymore, so don't think about that, anybody listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that was the 2008 crash, but those cars were still there when I left in 21. Like some of them just parked a lot of them at the airport because everyone just fled the country because there was no bankruptcy laws. Yeah. So people take out large loans from the banks, and then if their business went under, everyone just headed straight to the airport and left. But I mean, that was over 15 years ago now. So
I love it. So previously AHR.
Yep.
Then went through an acquisition from Titan Wealth and Titan Wealth International, obviously the group Titan Wealth.
Yeah.
So both of you have gone through a situation where your business that you have been a part of for quite some time has had to go through the rebranding. And that often causes anxiety for anybody, let alone, an international business then aligning themselves with a UK business. Mike, before we get into just the experience that you had around that, what's your approach to that? What's your view on that? How did you look at that, the rebranding of these international business and also the growth of the business? Because Titan Wealth is going international. There's no stopping it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. So, obviously, Titan Wealth itself is only 4 years old. So sometimes with a rebrand, when you acquire a business, they kind of fold into what is a mature, established business with, an existing established brand in the marketplace. Clients and customers know who they are. Wasn't the case for us, right? We're growing at a rate of knots, and therefore, actually, what we were doing is working with the acquired businesses. And, it's appealing to them to say, look, this is the future of the brand, this is the future of the business, but it may not be known yet. So it's a bit more subjective, and therefore that can create some challenges.
Yeah.
But we've talked obviously a lot on the series of these podcasts around the importance of one Titan and one culture. And again, from a branding perspective, how we present ourselves externally across all of our different jurisdictions is really important, that is joined up and that there is one client experience. So that's why, whilst branding, the logo and the color palette might seem a bit trivial, actually how you present yourself in the market in a consistent way is really important to build that brand awareness and brand consistency.
I agree. I think, if you're going to become a part of a business where they've acquired 25 different companies within that 4-year period, 44 billion under management, essentially, I don't like using the term, but a one-stop shop for wealth management. I think if you are going to align yourself to the brand, you're only going to be getting the benefit of all the expertise and the experience of the wider group. So it's a lot easier, isn't it, I think, to be able to turn around and say, we offer a storage of precious metals, which you guys didn't get into that. And someone in the UK can now say that. Someone in Dubai can now say that. And I think it's just really important that the brand is aligned. So it's a challenge, without a shadow of a doubt. I can imagine bringing those in. And as a CMO, it's probably a bit of a head scratcher, especially when you've got all these different people at different stages of their acquisition journey. Yeah. And I'm building these brands themselves. Absolutely. And often very difficult to let go of, especially when you have, say, some form of marketing in place that works. Yep. And part of your buyout is to continue to kind of do what you were doing before, and you're worried about letting go of the reins.
Yeah.
Have you felt that? Have you sort of witnessed that yourself through some of these journeys and acquisitions?
100%, yeah. I mean, you're spot on. Obviously, you know, by definition, the fact that these businesses have been acquired means they're successful, right? So they have done something right, done a lot right, and they've built brand equity and awareness with their own client bases. So this isn't about Titan coming over the top and saying, right, throw everything out you've done before and now do this. It's about how can we be complementary to those, you know, brand values that were there previously within those businesses, which is often always comes back to the client experience. And that, you know, that hasn't changed and won't change for Titan in terms of, you know, how we want to create differentiation for our brand in the marketplace. But yeah, it's about being sympathetic to that and actually saying, well, how can we take the best bits of what you've done and bring that into this business, which is still only 4 years old, rather than assuming we know everything, being 4 years old and saying, right, throw everything out you've done before, and now you're going to do it this way. Yeah. But that's also important, clearly, from an existing client point of view that has a relationship with those acquired businesses. You don't want to disrupt that relationship. You don't want it to feel like it's a backward step in terms of the experience. It needs to be additive, right? So that's about, as you say, additional products and services they can access. Clients can benefit from the scale the group offers. And how can we align, you know, our brand messaging and brand story so that we bring the best bits of the acquired businesses into the centre so that the centre then becomes bigger than the sum of the parts. And that's really what this is about.
What I love about there is that you're digging into those businesses to understand what they're doing well. There is an emotional journey, an emotional story to the brand that you've been building. And the last thing you want to do is let go of that and lose the element of control, I think, and direction. And it's great that you said that, because the experience that I've had with you, Mike, is exactly that. You are somebody that's very forward-thinking, that wants to understand and wants to try something new. But you're also asking me questions all the time. Through the conversations that we're having, we're building the brand, aren't we, on an external basis, especially in the employer brand side.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there telling me what to do. You're all ears and you're listening in. And I massively value that and appreciate that, because it creates that open conversation, which makes things better for everybody. Let's get into that hyper-local then. So some of the things where Mike's come in, you know, the businesses come in, Ravencroft's been bought, and then you've made that decision to change the brand and everything and align yourself. So tell us about the emotional journey for you that you went on when that happened.
So Ravenscroft was a really strong local brand. We had a CEO who was very well known within the Channel Islands, a very strong character, and had successfully built the business. That business was carrying on, slightly in a different guise. It was only the wealth management part that was coming through to Titan Wealth. So we were very keen to rebrand as soon as we possibly could, because we were moving forward. We wanted to be part of it. But there was a legacy, and we needed to be respectful of that legacy, and we needed to be aware of the heritage that we built within the Channel Islands. But it was very much, we're ready to move forward and be part of the Titan Wealth brand. It takes time. It is difficult. There's a lot of documentation that we use. We have a wide range of services that we offer from the Channel Islands. You alluded just briefly then to the precious metals. That's one part of it, but we have cash management, we have execution only, we have discretionary. So there was a lot of documentation that needed to be changed. We're a small team, but one of the things that we were very keen on was we didn't disappear during that phase. In fact, we doubled down really. It was, increase the communication, but don't overpromise. So almost underpromise, make sure that we were confident that we could continue to deliver. We're not marketing into a market, we're marketing into a community that we're part of. And I think that was really key, is that we needed to, the first question that everybody always asks is, what's going to be different? What's going to change? And I think, even now 14 months on, we're still getting that. And actually, I can say not a lot. And the question seems to be moving now to what's next. And I think that's really exciting for all of us. The team that we have, there's 120 staff across the Channel Islands. They're brand ambassadors for me. They go out. Actually, they're more powerful than anything I could put into the local newspapers, because what they say and how they feel about the business and what they're talking about when they're out and about talking to clients or talking to prospects is really powerful.
We're talking about direct marketing.
They are, absolutely. Yeah, they're my strongest asset, for sure.
Direct marketing's the best. You want people to be excited and positive and knowledgeable around the business that they represent and what the problems that the community might well be experiencing. So it's so important that people are knowledgeable, right? And
it is.
One of the things that, like, Sophie Yabsley, obviously fantastic. She's a host on the podcast, absolutely love her to bits. She talked to me a little bit about the fact that in the Channel Islands, you can pretty much do anything, right? There are things that you can do, the services that you can offer, the support that you can give clients. There's not much you can't do, and you go above and beyond to try to help that client through that process. Is there any kind of weird and wacky things? We talked about precious metals. Anything else at all?
I mean, I think the precious metals is probably the wackiest.
Yeah.
It's not actually that wacky, really. It's shiny and it's tangible.
Super cool. It's super cool.
And it's very cool. I mean,
yeah.
we talked about it last night at dinner, and it's a differentiator between us and other financial services, in the fact that we've got that. We have a vault. How exciting can we talk about a vault in the middle of the Channel? Surrounded by water in a very safe jurisdiction with a very low crime rate. And that's something that then we can use to cross-sell to other parts of the Titan Wealth business. It raises the profile of what the Channel Islands has to offer, because we aren't doing the same things that other people are doing. We can help those clients, and we can help them wherever they are. And that's obviously the key thing for Titan Wealth is, if a client moves, they can move with us. And then also, I think it's also important to highlight what our staff can do as well, is that now, because we're part of a bigger group, actually our staff have the opportunities that they necessarily didn't have before. We've sadly lost really great people out the Channel Islands because we're very small. They wanted to experience what life was like outside, and now they can do that. They've got those opportunities. And again, that's also a powerful marketing tool in the fact that our staff are positive and enthusiastic about what the group can offer them going forward.
Just going to ask you as well, in respect of the direct marketing element that we talked about a second ago, we're talking very much about community, aren't we? There's a small community there, in the grand scheme of things, there's a small community. James has had some huge success around SEO, from a global scale, trying to get these international jet setters who are here, there and everywhere, trying to pull them in with these intricate sort of problems that they're experiencing with cross-border advice. That's a great strategy for a global, and we're going to get into that, because I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that, okay? But from that direct marketing into community, and I assume sort of more face-to-face, can you give us some of the examples things that you're doing that are really sort of having an impact on a local basis and really solidify you as a company that is there to support the community and helps you generate new clients and retain clients?
So I don't think we can segment clients. The audience isn't big enough. We can try, but in terms of what we can actually achieve and the ROI, it's very difficult to be able to do that because it's such a small jurisdiction. And also because then when you start thinking about, actually, we've got 175,000 people, but how many of those are part of the adult population as well that are in a position where they can invest? That reduces that number of people down a lot further. So yes, it's an important part of the element. What we do digitally is important. We do digital advertising. We're constantly looking at our website, looking at our SEO as well. But I think a lot more of what we do in the Channel Islands is actually tangible touch points. So it is the sponsorships. It is, advertising at Jersey Airport, where people are coming and going, okay, well, that's the brand I recognise. I recognise that brand because I've seen them at, my child's school, or I've seen them because my child's wearing them on their football shirt, because we get involved in grassroots sport. Or they sponsored, a category in one of the Pride of Guernsey and Pride of Jersey awards. It's those tangible, it's steps, isn't it? It's making sure that our clients go, I've seen them once, I've seen them twice, and now something's happened. They need to be able to trust us with the money that they've spent a long time working for as well. So for us, it's about trust and making sure that we're front of mind when that time comes, that they're ready to make the investment. They go, okay, I recognise that brand. They're the ones I'm going to trust.
I love that. Is that transferable? Are you picking up on this?
Yeah. I was just going to jump in. I think because it is fair to say, isn't it, that obviously when Ravenscroft originally was acquired, there was a natural concern from clients saying, what does this mean? Does this mean actually you're going to be less invested in the local community?
Completely,
We've actually doubled down, haven't we? We're doing even more.
Doing the same.
So Titan is more visible, arguably, than Ravenscroft used to be in terms of the breadth and depth of community activity. And that just cements that point, saying we are committed to those clients in the island. It isn't about just taking the best bits of the product but then centralising it into a faceless organisation. It's all about those client relationships. Yeah,
and we'll try and do things that are grassroots. So that's really something we're really passionate about. And it ties in also with what nationally the group is doing as well with their sporting sponsorships. But also we do things for our clients as well. So clients might come to us and say they're doing something, I don't know, they're raising money for a charity that's close to them because they've been through an experience. And then we can also then support them in different ways, whether it's they're selling raffle tickets in the office because they can pop into our office, nowhere's more than 10 minutes away. And actually the walk-ins, is part of our culture. People do come in and see us. Our clients pop in and see us. They phone us. We have a 3-ring policy within the office. The phone should never ring more than 3 times before it's picked up. And if the phone's ringing and it's not, you're not on client services, pick the phone up, because actually our clients have come to expect that, and we still want to ensure that we're delivering it.
I love that. Planet, people and purpose was something that was part of my recruitment business because we were a B Corp. And I hear a lot of that in what you're doing in the community. Building brand. You said something earlier around return on investment. It's very difficult to measure return on investment when it comes to brand and the really intricate pieces of marketing that you do around direct, like supporting local events or putting a poster up or the local football, rugby team, whatever it might well be. But it has such a powerful impact. The more people see, the more people hear, the more people question, they're going to turn to it and they're going to look at it and they're going to find out more. It's tricky to measure brand in marketing, but I know 100%, especially in the work that I do around podcasting, storytelling, is powerful stuff. It does the work and we must remember that. And you can't always measure return on investment, but we do want a return on investment, right? We do want that. I'll tell you what, James, probably set you up really, really nicely here because on a global scale, you're looking at individuals that are moving around the world, right? And that's a great thing that Titan Wealth are doing. It's so important. So many people are moving now. So many high net worth individuals are moving across the world, in and out of different jurisdictions with different tax laws, etc. All these different types of things. How do you spread your net so wide to find those niche of clients that are moving around the world?
Yeah, so our market's very different because it's global. We don't do a lot of branding because it'd be very difficult to do that to such a large audience. But where there's so many people now leaving their home country, leaving the UK, leaving America, there's a lot of people in market for our services. So instead of sort of branding, we do a lot more digital advertising that's to just capture demand, basically. So we do that, across the world. We do get a little bit, the phrase you used is, hyper local. Yeah, sometimes we'll get hyper specific on pain points or countries. But what I found with that, because we market in so many different countries, it comes with this hidden cost, like resource costs. There's obviously the cost you have with spending on paid ads, but then you've got to create all the assets as well for those different countries. So it can become very expensive when you do that sort of like hyper local or hyper like product specific type marketing. So we do a lot of demand capture type advertising. We do sort of demand creation type marketing, so content led stuff. You alluded to the SEO. So we're trying to find the right clients. We want them to come to us. We want them to come informed. We want them to come with a capability to like and trust us already and be somewhat informed, and then book a call with us to begin a conversation.
Fantastic. How do you approach that? Is that through like paid advertising, social media? Do you do articles, videos? What's your kind of approach to that works on an international scale?
Yeah, so we don't do much in the way of video yet. That is something we're quite weak in, and we're going to go into this year. We've taken bets on SEO and paid advertising, and we've committed ourselves to those. So we create a lot of article type content that people search. So they find us on search engines, they find us on LLMs. And then we do a lot of, and there's a limit to that, right? How much search people make. And then we push content out and offers and, guides and things like that out to our target audience to make them aware of who we are, some of the problems that they may not be aware that they have or solutions that they're unaware of. And we push those out to people.
I love that. And also in the international world, and I've been out there, I've sat inside international businesses. I understand also the pressure a lot of the financial planners are under to win clients. And a lot of the time it's new business focused. A lot of people move around the world, it's new business focused, it's turning stones over and trying to find them. But you are so aligned to your advisors and you feed your advisors. And we're going to get on that, because there has to be, again, this return on investment. If you're going to put marketing out, how can you quantify that the marketing is actually working? And that comes from clients, that comes from assets under management, products and services sold, right? So tell us a little bit about how you work hand in hand and in unison with the financial planners to help fill up their cup with some new business out of their own prospecting.
So what we created what we call the Marketing Investment Fund. So advisors can invest into that fund. They essentially buy units, almost like you would like a fund on the stock market.
Right.
So the advisors buy units in our Marketing Investment Fund, and then I deploy that capital into SEO and paid advertising mostly. And then that buys the advisors an allocation of the leads that come through each month. So SEO is like recurring website traffic and leads. and paid advertising is what we deploy each month to bring those leads in. So the advisors have the choice on that. So the clients that want to build a client book, they'll put more money in and they can scale that up and down. Other advisors may already have a client book or, not looking to grow it so much, and they will put less in or none at all.
Love it. Being part of an acquired business, exactly the same as Katrina over there, very passionate, very connected to the brand that you had built.
Yeah.
So when you heard that you're going through an acquisition, Titan Wealth was coming to the fro, and a rebrand was discussed. First thoughts, and what did you do?
Yeah, I think probably like any marketing person, the first thing you do is look at their website. Yeah. And so we were very early in the journey. So the Titan Wealth website at the time was a website for a holding company. So it wasn't consumer facing. So for us, we were like, oh geez, it felt like a bit of a step down in terms of marketing. So we had reservations about that. But then with the leadership explaining the vision, that brought us back round. And, we were really proud of the brand we built with AHR. But then once we understood the vision, we couldn't wait to get going. At the time, I think we actually had a choice as to whether we could stay as AHR or become Titan, but we felt quite firmly, and after speaking to other people within the group, they felt firmly as well that we should all be Titan. It should be one Titan. So we got acquired, I can't remember if it was July or August 24. Then, we're lining up our new marketing programs to get going. So we were waiting for Titan Wealth UK to do their rebrand, but we wanted to get our programs going before Christmas, really. We wanted to go into Christmas, new website's live, and we can kick off the new year in full steam. So, we actually got the approval to launch the brand about mid-December. So I think we were the first to launch it, which I think was okay. It was a different audience, and we didn't make a big, song and dance about it. We just wanted to launch the website, so all the assets that we had been building up the past few months, we could just begin to launch, and we could come back in the new year and just get going. But we were super excited to become Titan, and
Love it. And as one of the only, I think, chartered firms in the international space, it was super important that the brand kicked off and looked good.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, it wasn't like fireworks, Dubai style. It was very chilled. But I think it went down incredibly well, especially up against the backdrop of, a little bit wide type businesses out in the international space. I think you've established yourself very professional, and I love it.
Yeah, I think it's even in the UK, right, where you get a lot of small firms. So then, you get a lot of firms that are 3 or 4 advisors, and same in the international space. So everyone goes for the same sort of heritage look, blues, blacks, golds. And so there's a lot of that in the international space. And we were somewhat the same, right? With AHR, we were a dark navy blue. So we were a bit it's a bit brave, the purple, but we're so glad it is the purple now because it is so distinguished from anything else out in the market.
I love it. And also I love the name. I actually love the name Titan.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like habits. Right, brilliant. I just want to ask you both, look, you went through that whole process. It turned out all right, didn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what James was saying before about the leadership and the vision, I think that has been a really important part of the transition. Having James and Andrew and Paul come to the Channel Islands, talk to our staff, but also more importantly, talk to our clients. They were very visible. They're not in a glass box hidden away somewhere in the city. They were very much on the ground. They were authentic. They talked about what the vision was and how the business was going to grow, and importantly, how the Channel Islands fit in that future vision. And I think that took our staff and, more importantly, our clients on that journey with them. They were like, okay, this is not private equity. There's not going to be lots of, losses and job cuts and scaling back of the community activity. They're really invested, and they recognise the expertise and the experience that the Channel Islands and the wider businesses that have come into the group have to offer. They're really passionate about that, and I think that you feed off that. You get very excited by what their vision is, and everybody wants to move forward and push together.
I've met James numerous times. I spent a lot of time with James. He was over in Dubai as well, which was really refreshing. And when he was there, he was talking to all the new people that were starting in the business. Yeah. And I think that, a founder standing there and standing up and talking about the vision of the business, it's displaying communication. And that's huge, right? Community and communication is such a big part of growing a business at the speed and at the size that Titan Wealth are doing it at. Because if you do it, you don't tell anybody about it, you don't introduce yourself, people just, who the hell is that? Like, who is that person?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, as you say, some person in an ivory tower that you might see a picture of on an email or something like that, or a bulletin comes around. How important to you, well, first off, Mike, how cool is that you're hearing about the success of businesses that are integrating into Titan Wealth and are confident and able to communicate clearly and be part of the vision overall and help those intricate businesses and integrate properly? And I think, does that fill you with confidence?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, and again, you've heard firsthand. So the point I made earlier around it's additive, right? So it's not about just conforming to the brand. It's actually saying, well, what can we do to even enhance the story? So, you know, James referenced the guys in HR were fully bought into the brand vision, the business vision. We're going to crack on. Now that helps the UK because effectively we can then put our arms around that and say we've already got a global business here because those guys are out there, you know, innovating. And again, that is kind of symbolic really of the culture within the business, which is we are large because we've grown over, you know, very quickly over 4 years, but it's still agile, it's still entrepreneurial, it's still open and collaborative. And that sometimes that can be quite chaotic, but that's what's so energizing, right? And it's sink or swim. And some days you think, I don't know which way's up, but that's all opportunity from my perspective. And from a marketing point of view, as a profession, so exciting. I mean, you know, the fact this business is still so new, yet has established itself so well, so quickly, but also the culture that exists in the business and the people in the business are our differentiator, and we can't forget that. And just, you know, hearing the guys' experience is brilliant because we're not going to slow down on acquisitions. We're going to do more, but we also need to make sure that we invest the time to embed and integrate. Don't just buy, build. It's actually about fully integrating to, again, like I said earlier, to make the outcome, the sum of the parts greater than the whole, if you like, or the other way around.
I get it.
Yeah.
And brand is super important in the world that we live in. It's the most important thing in the world, I think.
Yeah.
You know, people need to see a brand, but also if you're in a business, you need to feel connected to it. We're similar in a way because, like, I built a recruitment business for 16 years, so I would see the financial planning profession as a whole. And now you obviously had spent time in financial planning within organisations, and you're now seeing it from an acquisition perspective. Yeah. So you're now seeing all these different businesses, how they different businesses operate, and then you're picking the blueprints that work, and like it's like a rinse and repeat, isn't it? So we work there, let's see what we can do here. Work there, let's see what we can do here. So the confidence when somebody is looking to perhaps sell their business to Titan Wealth is, look, not only are we going to be looked after in respect of our brand and the people within it, how they're connected to it and how that connects to our clients, but also we're going to upscale.
Yeah.
Because Katrina's gone through it.
Yep.
James has gone through it. And you've witnessed and seen and supported all these different businesses. So the blueprint just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, completely.
Most people see marketing in financial services as a bit of a colouring in exercise, right? You know,
How dare you?
I'm going to ask you, you tell me what you think of marketing within financial services.
Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, I mean, I think people still, there are some misconceptions about marketing, but because it's such a broad discipline, right? It is, you know, there is a bit of colouring in. You know, the creative element is really important. But I always say marketing is both an art and a science, right? There's a creative element, but there's also a highly scientific part in terms of how do we understand what clients are buying, why clients are buying, what the advisor-client relationship is, what makes us unique, and tap into those psychological aspects in order to position the business in the right way. You know, we know as human beings, people don't buy rationally, they buy irrationally. So they say one thing and do another. So building a brand that has brand meaning and brand purpose and means something to our clients through all of the experiences they have with the business is hugely important and is our only differentiator. You know, it is a crowded market. There's similar products. We do have a really strong proposition, but the secret sauce is building the brand. And that's why I talk about it as, you know, there's an art element to it, which is, you know, creatively, how do we want to be perceived in the market? You know, and therefore the color Pantone is relevant because we want to be different, we want to stand out. But actually the science bit is around, okay, how do we create a brand with meaning, purpose that actually connects with people emotionally?
Yep.
Through all of their experiences with the business, because that's the bit where people say, well, I'm going to keep coming back and I've got no reason to leave and I want to invest more of my money with Titan because of how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, right? Financial services is not we're not FMCG. It's not a kind of fast decision, tangible product that you can research online and buy and transact. It is high involvement. It's emotional. It's actually, a lot of people don't really have the time to think about it. So those moments of connection we have with clients have got to be really meaningful, and we've got to be really impactful so that people think, actually, how did that make me feel at that point in time? So if it's an annual review that you're having with an advisor, how do we make that the best annual review conversation and process and experience? That's what we need to be challenging ourselves to think about. But as I say, hugely exciting because we've got high caliber, really strong people in the business with great ideas. The challenge is how we bring them to the surface and prioritize them, because we're not short of ideas.
Yeah, and well, this is the thing. That's marketing, isn't it? We could all sit around a table and probably build the most amazing marketing plan. And we'll wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I feel a bit overwhelmed now. Where do we start?
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get that. One of the things that I definitely, what you just said there, right? Okay, financial services has always been a bit of a closed book, hidden behind jargon. You go to a website, pretty much everyone in the UK all kind of looks the same, sounds the same, right? Being able to bring to the surface the journey that a client actually goes on. And I love that you do say that emotional connection. Being able to bring that journey to life, to be able to educate and show somebody what the value and the power of really good quality financial planning will do, whether it's helping you manage your tax in different jurisdictions, or whether it's getting that fantastic precious metals, whatever it might well be, right? It's so important. What's the future of that for Titan Wealth? What are we looking at here? Are we looking into that client story, that client journey, that social proof, which is so valuable? Because when they see it and they hear it and they can identify with somebody that's gone through the journey, the likelihood is they're probably going to do it themselves. Yeah. So where are you in that part?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I talk a lot about the kind of the concept of brand and it being really a triangle, right? It's a relationship between the business, i.e. the company, the clients and colleagues, and you have to have a consistent kind of experience across all three to have a consistent brand experience. So, if we say one thing in the marketplace, but then what the client experiences with one of our colleagues, then that, the brand promise falls through the floor. If we're not treating our colleagues in the same way that we want our clients to be treated and they don't buy into that vision, again, that internal brand is broken. When it really works, when all three things work together. So there's a huge focus for me strategically across the marketing kind of team going forward is how do we bring all of those elements of the story forward? So the employer brand, what's it like to work here? What do we stand for? Who are we? A lot of what we're doing here is obviously, touching on that and will continue to do so. But also then amongst our target audience, how do we resonate more emotionally with them, which is about telling stories that that have meaning for them rather than listing products and services, which are a byproduct, right? And it's that classic, it's the Simon Sinek approach, isn't it? Everyone talks really well about what they do, not why they do it. So our purpose isn't to offer investment products to customers. That's what we do. Our purpose is actually about helping them realize their dreams, ambitions, goals, hence the Powering Ambitions, strapline. So demonstrating how we are helping all of our different audiences power their ambitions. Our role is, we are supporting that. We're not the one leading it. We are supporting our clients to achieve it, and bringing that to life through real stories is the bit that we're really committed to doing as we move forward.
I love that.
One thing that really works for me is one of the brand pillars, the future-proofing your finances. Just because our clients are expats. Some of them are quite transient. They're going to move countries. So them knowing that there's the UK arm and then all the capabilities within the UK, but Channel Islands, Australia, everywhere else, that brand narrative for us works really well. The future-proofing your finances.
Yeah, I love that. We touched on their internal. Yeah. So marketing on an internal basis. I want you to tell me what that means.
Well, as I said, if you think about this concept of the brand triangle, it's important that everybody within the business understands what the business is, right? And that's not a prescriptive point. It is this information and education and communication point. We're a fast-growing business. We have some weird and wonderful capabilities, including precious metals surrounded by water and a vault. But actually, I guess educating and bringing those stories to life for our internal audience is really important because, again, that they are our brand ambassadors. 1,400 people within the business now and growing still. It's important that everyone understands what Titan is, what we do, also what we do for our clients. So we need to continue to improve those communications and connect the group together. It is a disparate group by definition because we've acquired lots of different businesses nationally and internationally. So you can't just, call a town hall and get everyone in the same room. So we need to think creatively about how we can communicate as well. So things like these podcasts. We re-platformed our SharePoint site back end of last year, where we've improved the communication flow across the intranet. We've got internal newsletters, we've got town halls that we run. So these are all kind of fairly kind of fundamental things that need to be there. But of course, it's then how you connect that story together. You know, putting those things in place is one thing, but actually bringing our proposition to life through those stories internally is so important, because then everyone will be a brand advocate and will go out and tell those stories as well.
I think for me and my background, and me bringing me into the story of Titan Wealth, which I'm really grateful to be a part of, is my recruitment background. You know, I built the Financial Planner Life podcast to talk about careers within financial planning with a mission to attract new people into the profession. That was a big, big part of mine. And as that progressed, that podcast, it then became consultancy. So I'd go into companies and I would talk about, okay, let's talk about who are in your business. Let's bring those personalities to the surface and let's use that as a mechanism to attract talent, because the most powerful talent attraction tool any company has are the people in it. Mm-hmm. You can create all these brand guidelines, and you can create values and all of that, but it's the people within the business, it's their stories, it's their journeys, it's the success that they've had, the reasons why they left and joined a company, the career progression that they've experienced, what they love about the company, the work-life balance, whatever it might well be. That's what really resonates with people, and it's stories that really do touch somebody. And I've experienced that multiple times. And some of the businesses that I've helped, and now I'm helping you, what you find is by creating something like this, a podcast, internally, it creates a buzz. People get to listen and hear the ideas and the plans that people have, and internally their confidence grows. And they also might see themselves wanting to be part of this and sharing the story because they're passionate about the business that they're part of. So it creates that connectivity and communication, which James has spoken to about on other podcasts. So I think we all agree, as marketers, it's one of the things that we want to do is make a business sound amazing to work for, right? And the best way to do that, bring people on to talk about their journeys and what they do.
But I think on that point, it's also important you're authentic with it, right? So by opening it up fully, podcast, just having a conversation, it reveals where we are. We're not the finished article, but actually it shows a certain degree of confidence in our own proposition and our own brand that we're doing these things. Because actually, it's, like you say, once you lift the lid, that's when it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. So build in public. That's a great word, great term, isn't it? Build in public. Now, as a business that's growing really fast, and doing it exceptionally well, and as it scales, it gets better because the blueprint gets stronger. How do you feel about building public and being part of a business that's actually willing to share the story and share the journey? Use this podcast, for example, on an external basis and let the world see what Titan are doing. How do you feel? James, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think you see tech businesses do it a lot, and I think you've got to be a bit careful with it. Like, we're not a small tech business. It's actually multiple companies that are very successful. Some have been around for decades. Although it's building in public, those investment funds have been around for 10, 20 years and are successful in their own right. So it's building these successful Lego blocks and building them upon one another. But I think it's great. It's something we've not done enough of in the international space, but now it's the perfect time to do it all together.
Yeah, there's definitely sensitivities that you've got to be wary of, and I think it's about using the right strategy, leaning into other industries, professions, and seeing what they've done and how they've done it, and understanding what some of the challenges and the pitfalls that you might come up against. But like anything, I think marketing, you have to kind of fail forward sometimes to experience something. But the authenticity that something like this can create from a building public, it makes somebody think, well, I thought that they were well ahead. And if I went and joined that company, for example, then I'd just be a cog in the wheel. Absolutely not. When you've got people like James, who's one of the founders, talking about entrepreneurial, growth mindset individuals, it's like, oh, I can see myself there. If they've got 1,400 staff now, 44 billion in 4 years, and they're talking about growing for the next 15 and the next generation of financial advisors, that's only going to excite people on an external basis. So being part of something, but hearing about the story in different stages beforehand, it excites people. I've witnessed it and I see it and I love it. And this is why I love the fact that as a business of the size that you are, you're willing to do that. You're willing to open the doors and be confident of the people, which shows respect, which should hopefully entice new businesses to join or new people to join and only upskill the business as a whole. Do you feel that way? And Mike, what sort of things are you doing the podcast, video, great. This is all new stuff, and you're leaning into that, which is brilliant. How it's built brand. But what other ways can we do that where the whole group connects together? Are you working on anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads already in the pipeline, and loads more we need to get to as well. I mean, this is again, like I said, part of the challenge is there is so much opportunity. I think that certainly the approach to date has been, how do we build brand awareness? How do we start to make Titan more aware? Because we are a new business with years of experience, right? So it's not like we don't have the kind of creds and the experience within the group, but the brand itself is relatively unknown. So that to date, it's been quite PR and brand led, a lot of sponsorship activity. We major very strongly in sports sponsorship, and that gives us a huge amount of opportunity. Three really main ways there in terms of helping individual players, existing players, with their finances, also providing second career pathways for ex-players when they finish the profession, because obviously they tend to retire early, but also corporate benefits. A huge part of our Titan proposition is that we can help the corporate entities themselves with the workplace pensions and healthcare, et cetera, so there's a huge amount of kind of services we offer through there, but building that brand awareness is key. But if we only build awareness, obviously, in marketing terms, that's top of the funnel. Lots of awareness. How do you drive people to consider and then, act? So lots more activity will be happening this year digitally to start to really push, again, similar to what James has built in the international space, start to share these stories more proactively with our target audiences and with our existing clients. So start to demonstrate to existing clients, look at the wealth of services you can now get access to. Because a lot of the time, because we're bringing these businesses in, those paths aren't necessarily clear. So there's definitely a big comms piece still in order to, to drive that awareness, and then continuing to start to drive much more interaction with our frontline advisors, financial advisors, financial planners. They are the lifeblood of the business. They're the people alongside the investment managers who have the client relationships. So enabling them to be the most successful they can be, through whether that's through sales aids, marketing materials, lead generation. So we're providing them with highly qualified, relevant leads. All of that is within plan. But as I say, a part of our journey is, we need to build the plumbing before we can start to execute, and, making sure we have, in the UK now, we've got a national advisor footprint. We've got over 220 financial planners nationwide that can support clients. So it's appropriate now to push again and say, well, let's raise the profile and awareness of that and start to connect those prospects that aren't aware of Titan, or maybe peripherally aware of Titan, into our business. So it's a huge, huge focus.
When Mike talks about that on a group level, does that resonate with you both?
I think it's difficult. It's different in the Channel Islands. I don't like to use that word, but we are a unique bunch of people, and it's about utilising. For me, it's about utilising all of the marketing channels. I think internally and externally as well, because you need to be able to connect our client stories with future clients, and we need to talk in a language that isn't full of jargon. How can they help me? That's what I want our clients to understand when they come to our website, or when they read an article, or they see something in the local paper, or they see something on our social media. They connect with it automatically, and they go, okay, this is, they're talking my language. They're answering the question that I've got. They can solve the problem that I have. And I think, we would use the same channels, just slightly differently within the Channel Islands. I think, it's about learning what they're doing from group and going, how can we use that? And I think it's a two-way conversation that we're having within the regions to what we're doing at group. Have we done like this before? What can we do? Can we learn something differently? And hopefully then internationally as well. James was talking before about some of the thought leadership they're doing and the articles they're doing. And I'm sat here instantly going, okay, I now have a financial planning team as part of the Channel Islands. How can I use some of the editorials that they're doing, rather than us reinventing the wheel all the time and us doing something that's different to what these guys are doing? Actually communicating as a team and working together as a marketing team, regardless of where we're based, to make use of the materials that we're producing for the best use for the clients.
I think it is. It's whilst absolutely the local market is different, the kind of marketing methods are still the same, right?
Absolutely.
Pushing out real stories, sharing the great work that's happening across the group, to make people think, oh, that's social proof, because that's someone like me that I know would I can now benefit from that, because, as you say, it's in plain English. I understand what the offering is or how they benefited from it, rather than it being a list of products and services.
Yeah, no client knows that they want discretionary investment management.
Of course,
what does that mean to them? What they know is that they've got money and they want to save for their children's future, their education, they want an income from retirement. Those are the things they understand. They don't know whether that's execution only or whatever that, or advisory stockbroking. That means nothing to them. We need to talk to them in a language that they understand and that answers the queries that they've got.
Those pain points, right? There's pain points, there's life experiences, there's points in life where you need to lean into that. And we all have that from, buying a house, getting life insurance, a mortgage, all these different things that we've had in our life. And it's about bringing those stories to life, of which you touched on, which is the term that I absolutely love, which is the social proof. And I think, brave companies share client stories, because that is the ultimate social proof. Somebody talking about the service and the experience they had at a point in their life when they needed it. And I think when you wrap that up, like these stories of internal, it works the same way for clients. And then how you use that, whether that's leaning into a really great paid advertising campaign or supporting an existing article around cross-border advice or Channel Islands Life or UK Life. These are all great things that we can lean into. And one thing for sure, I think we've all been energized. We've all got a really good idea about what's going on in the world. And I think one of the greatest things that I'm coming across with Titan is alignment, communication, great example of this. And this is only the more you bring it together, the more you have conversations, the better things get. People in isolation don't do anything. People together, collectively, collaboration, not competition, is what pushes moves the needle, pushes the car forward. Okay, great stuff. So on a final note, there's a question we're going to ask everybody on this podcast, okay? What does one Titan mean to you, James?
For me at the minute, it's a flag in the ground of what we want to be. It's a vision, and it's on everyone in the business to pioneer what that means and shape it.
Okay, a flag in the ground. I like that one. Katrina.
Obviously, everybody will hopefully say that it's about putting the clients at the heart of what we do. I think for me, it's probably, I'm going to use the sea analogy, but it's the continuity and curiosity for me. Continue to provide the service that our clients have come to expect and the services that they want from us, but then also ask how we can do it better. Can we innovate? How can we move our business forward, deliver what those clients want now and in the next 5 years, 10 years and beyond? Because our world is changing around us at a massive rate of knots. How we market to those people is very different. 20 years ago, it was, print advertising and brochureware, and now it's it's multi-channel marketing. So I think, we have to ask ourselves constantly, can we do it in a different way that delivers better results?
Love it.
Really similar. I think for me, when I think about One Titan, obviously with my marketing hat on, it's about one brand experience. So what does that mean? That means effectively everyone in the group pulling in the same direction with a common purpose internally to deliver a consistent experience for our clients. And I think James is right. It's a flag in the ground. I think there's loads we're doing towards it. We're not fully there yet, but it's a really clear vision that we have. That's absolutely what we need to move to.
I love it. And I think what we can take from this is nobody's where they probably think they should be. The world changes really quick. And I think being agile, being flexible, being entrepreneurial, being connected and collaborative, and, more heads are better than one. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you guys more as we continue to work together. So thank you very much for allowing me on your podcast and allowing me to host. I've really learned a lot from you, and I'm really looking forward to creating some more fab content with you guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.